welcome to another episode of I Made That. I'm your host, Chloe Emme. I Made That podcast. Welcome to another episode of I Made That. I'm so excited. This one has been in the works for quite a while. We were just waiting for the perfect time to sit down and have a chat. He is back from Albania. He's got his cat Butter with him. I have Dremmz today. So he's a musical artist, but he's really, again, one of these multidisciplined creatives that doesn't really have like a cap on what he can do creatively. So I'm super excited to talk process with you today. Welcome to the podcast, Dremmz.
Thank you, Chloe. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Always to get started off, I like to kind of give you the opportunity to explain what you do in your own words for those of the listeners that are not familiar with your work.
So my name is Dremmz. I'm an artist. I come from the Chicago area, and I've been making music for about 8 to 9 years now, and I'm very happy with what I do. Yeah, I got a lot of aspirations. I got a lot of ambitions. I got a lot of visions.
How would you explain like your style of music if somebody hasn't listened?
I say I feel like up to this point, it's been pretty easy listening, but I would like to go in a direction of contrarian. I want to be the divider. I want to be the polarizer. But right now, I'd say if you looked up my music right now, I think you'd enjoy it. I think there's something for everybody. I never repeat the same style, and I always take a different approach to every track I do. So that comes with the positive and negative, because there's a lot of artists who say, "Oh, I'm versatile." They just copy Drake, and then the next song they copy Travis Scott, and the next song they're copying Juice World. But I'm me. Every song is different in approach, but it's still me.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking before we started recording about authenticity, and I think that that is something that really comes through in everything that you create. It is definitely Dremmz. It's not really like anything else that you've heard, but also the idea that you do switch it up so often.
Yes.
How does that work?
I like eras because when I got into music, I was just very in awe at what Kanye's done. And part of that just comes from the different eras. Like, if you were around in 2004, you associate him with a different image because that was when he was wearing pink polos and shit. And now your image might be completely different if you grew up with this Kanye. So it's just interesting. I really like the idea of having different eras and letting the music distinguish the eras in a way that's very cohesive, and it just feels like development. That's very important to me, because then you like you've seen those cool videos where it's like Tyler the Creator going through his eras. Like, I need one of those when it's all said and done.
Okay, so what era is Dremmz in right now?
I'm the Red Shepherd. I'm in Manifesto era. I'm in just like, man, I'm doing just whatever I feel is different. That's what I'm into right now. I just want to. I'm a storyteller right now. I'm a contrarian, and I want to make an impact. I'm also very, very anti-establishment at the moment. I don't do promos. I don't do no promos. I don't do no industry gimmicks, shenanigans. I don't do that no more. That's my era right now. I'm in full Red Shepherd mode. I'm the shepherd.
Okay, do you think so? I know I want to dive into this. You just got back from Albania, right?
Yeah, correct.
Run me through that. Why did you choose to go there? What did that lead to creatively? I need more context. That's such a random pick for me.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the first country I've been to outside of America, and the reason being is that my ancestry is very much in that region, and I just first of all I wanted to visit the motherland. That's the Balkans. That's where my family's from. So it's like I have to visit that. I feel like everybody should visit where their ancestors came from. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was just I was looking for somewhere that would be aesthetically fitting for my style at the moment, and I feel like Albania was very similar to what I was looking for. And it's just it's a visual thing that you don't get here. It's an atmosphere you don't get here. It's authentic. It's so unique, man. And I really I wanted to pick it for that reason. And also just like knowing history and knowing a lot of geography, I didn't want to pick a basic country because that's what a lot of people would have done in my situation. Like, oh, we're going to Europe, we're going to go to France. It's like I wanted to dive in and say like, okay, what makes this country worth visiting? And I found out that like their history was what intrigued me because they Albania was formerly a communist country for a long time. They've only been free for 30 years, and it took them a long time to recover from it. It was very rough. You couldn't leave, you couldn't get in. It was the North Korea of Europe, and it was interesting to go there and just see development. That's what I loved about it. It was development because they had a leader that was very paranoid. He was convinced that the world was against him. And there was a point in my life where I still feel to this day like I feel like everybody's against me. So going there was like me like just exposing myself to that and like trying to use that to heal myself because ultimately the man who was convinced everyone wanted to kill him was the man who ruined his own people. So that's just good wisdom, honestly.
Yeah. Do you feel like it did heal any part of you?
I'm not sure yet. It hasn't been long enough to really set in, but I feel like one day it's going to click and I'm just going to be a different person because of it. I've definitely learned to not victimize myself anymore because prior to my trip, I was just convinced that the labels hated me, the artists hated me, the fans hated me. And now it's just like I realized I was giving them reasons to hate me. Now it's just like, do I have to? Like, was I being myself or was I just trying to be different just because? So I feel like now it's not about victimizing myself. It's about, presenting myself in the most authentic way, not just trying to piss people off, you know?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. I think there's also like a lot of power in being able to observe and feel things that we might label as like negative emotions. For me, I struggled for a really long time with receiving feedback, just like would shut down, would be upset about that, would automatically think that person was wrong. But I'm now able to observe, like, okay, maybe I don't agree with you, but what can I take away from this? What can I learn from this? Do you feel that you've had kind of a similar revelation in terms of not wanting to like fight everybody? Does it feel like it's a more productive use of negative emotions at this point?
Yes, for sure. I always battle with the same things, just feedback. And I used to feel like, oh, you just don't know music. If you don't like my music, then you're stupid. Like I literally have a line in my one of my songs that says, "If you don't like my music, then you stupid bitch." So that used to be my mindset. I was just like, bro, if you don't like me, then you're just dumb. And I realized it's like feedback is important because as an artist, the only way to truly make a career out of this is to appeal to people. And that's the difficult part. It's like I've never appealed to people in my life. I've always been the outcast, and I just had a battle. Like man, like it's never been easy for me. So I used to get so much feedback about, oh, your mixing is bad, and that was one of the things where I was like, okay, you know what, you're right. So I did my mixing, I did my research, and now I know how to mix my songs, guys. I know how to do it. And then sometimes I get like, oh, you need to hop on better beats. I don't take that feedback because I make my own beats. So like people think I like look up YouTube beats and just like rap on them. I make my own, guys. So I don't really take that feedback because I know where I'm going production wise. Sometimes the mixing I wasn't really aware, but I always knew what I wanted to do as a producer. And besides that, I've never really gotten negative feedback in terms of just my rapping style, my voice. It was mainly just like people not liking the way I presented myself. And I think that was something I could take from that. So yeah, to a degree, I do value feedback, but not when it's uneducated. I hate uneducated feedback. People who just see 5 seconds of what you do and just make a judgment like, "Oh, your shit is trash." Like, dude, you heard 5 seconds of a song, like, and then it's difficult because when you explain yourself, like, "Hey, bro, I have like a different style for every song," you come off pretentious because you're defending your art, and that was something that I had to deal with. So I'm just like, now I just don't bother fighting them anymore. It's like you can have your opinion, but if I feel that your opinion is uneducated and you just want clout from it, because people leave TikTok comments like, "Bro, unrelease this." You can tell they didn't hear the shit. They just said, "Oh, there's an artist on my page. We're gonna tell him to unrelease his music." I just delete those comments, bro. Like I don't give a shit what people say. Oh, you're deleting your comments because you don't want feedback. No, I delete the comments that aren't genuine feedback. If you type me like a good paragraph on why you think my music is good, but still acknowledge that it has potential, I will keep that. I'll like the comment actually. But if you're just saying bullshit just to be funny, no, you're like, I'm silencing you.
Yeah, I think that's totally valid. So you're a youngin, okay? You are very
20.
young for doing this for 9 years. How
Yes.
did you start with music in general? What led to this?
I've always felt connected to music. The first CD I purchased was Random Access Memories by Daft Punk, and I also listened to Imagine Dragons back then. I hate to admit it,
Dude,
but
no. Imagine Dragons still slaps. Like if it comes on my Pandora, I don't turn it off. So,
I feel you. Yeah. But I was listening to that and it's just I don't know, I always felt like music was just one of those ways to express yourself. And I never really had that as a kid because the only way I really expressed myself was through like YouTube videos and shit. And I was just like, that's not I don't want to be a content creator. I want to be a music creator. I want to be an artist. So at that point I was just like trying to figure out how I can do it. And I was like 11. I had a imaginary band in school called Style, and I took a red shirt. I cut the sleeves off. I was like on some rock star shit. Of course, I got bullied for it, but
oh,
oh, I did. I have a whole song about that called Style. But
love it.
yeah, I made a fake band. Didn't even make music at that point. I wasn't even making music. I was just designing shirts.
Yeah.
I was just sketching like outfits I'd wear on tour without having any music.
It's the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's the aesthetic. I was always good with aesthetics. And eventually I was like, okay, well, I need to have fucking music. So I started writing. I started exploring music, and yeah, I started making beats on my school iPad because they gave us the iPads to work on our homework and shit. I never did a single assignment in school. Never paid attention in class. Always had my headphones in and was making beats on GarageBand. And that's how it all happened. That's how I started to learn how to produce. I would recreate Kanye beats and Kendrick beats and Tyler beats, just all class. And yeah, I would get called down to the office because they were monitoring my iPad. They would press play on it, and I knew they were fucking with it, but they would tell me to stop. They're like, what is this you made in science class?" They played us just the hardest beat you've ever heard.
Love it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's when you like really make it, that's going to be such a good story. That's going to be the one that you like tell to everybody, and you're going to have like that one teacher that's like, I always knew. I used to listen to the science class beats.
Yeah.
uh, okay, so you mentioned a couple of artists so far. Who do you think is your biggest influence, or even people that you just really admire?
Currently is Kendrick Lamar because I think after 2024, I think Kanye is easily number two. I mean, Kendrick has put himself up to that point, not just for me, but I think most people have kind of turned on Kanye and recognized that Kendrick hasn't missed yet. There's no bad Kendrick release. So it's like that's my favorite. That's my favorite artist of all time. Honestly, I've been listening to him even before Kanye. I've always been a big fan of Kendrick, and that's my number one influence right now. His storytelling has inspired me. His
Hmm.
production, his albums, just his whole artistry is very influential to me. And more of the avant-garde style. I really like JPEG Mafia. And it's funny because I'm a cis white man. I know. I like JPEG Mafia guys. I'm just like you. But
He's always with Danny Brown, right?
yes,
Okay, because I'm from just outside of Detroit, and so I grew up when Danny Brown was like in his prime, and
yeah,
oh my God, wild time. But love both of them. And same thing with Kendrick. I think visually he's definitely up there for. I don't. Have you seen all the stuff that him and who is it, Dave Free,
oh
have
man,
been?
yeah.
Dude,
He
the Chanel
is
show,
man, yeah, that was
insane.
amazing. He's very underrated in terms of aesthetics. And I think
Mm-hmm.
he even mentions that on GNX, like how much do I have to do to level my aesthetics? Like people don't realize that like the thing that separates him from I guess we'll say Drake, he's an artist. Drake's an entertainer.
Yeah.
There's a very distinct difference that people don't understand. Kendrick is an artist, and that's what I look up to. I look up to artists. I don't look up to entertainers. I look up to people who express themselves through art, not to appeal to other people. Like, so I'm into Kendrick. I'm into Tyler, especially Chromacopia right now. I love JPEG. I love Danny Brown. I love Quadeca, new Quadeca. I like Travis Scott a little bit still. Childish Gambino. I can go on and on about influences. Even like weirder genres. Like I love just listening to samples. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what genre. I just love putting on like a sample playlist and just listening to them. You find so much cool music.
Yeah, no, I'm same thing with I mean, I don't do music. I love listening to samples though. I love even listening to like current music and then picking apart where they found those samples. Like there's this one 21 Savage song that came out this last year and he sampled like a Brazilian opera singer. So I was like, "Oh, like that actually sounds way too pretty to even be on the song." Went and found the original sample. Beautiful. Like literally is on my rotation now, that actual like sample song. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's really fun to kind of backtrack and understand how people's brains work.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's there's stigma around sampling, but I don't know. Sometimes like as an artist, it's important to know what to do with the sample. This is just for all my artists out there who do sampling. It's not lazy to just loop a sample. I don't know why people think it is. It's like, bro, like if this connects with you and you feel it doesn't need anything else, don't feel ashamed and feel lazy to loop it. Like it's okay. Like I do the same thing. Like sometimes if it's a sample that needs more structure around it, you can add the structure. You can add the drums. You can add the bass. Like you can add counter melodies. But there's no reason why you should feel lazy to do minimal work on a sample. You don't have to chop up every single bar. Like you can literally just find a piece and loop it the whole song.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like
think definitely just making it your own, but still being inspired by what that piece is, like for what it is. I think that there's a lot of beauty in that too.
so what I do when it comes to sampling, I look on playlists and channels that post, records that they find in crates, and I always look at the titles. I always look at the titles. I scroll through and I find a title that resonates with me and the theme that I want to portray. And 9 times out of 10, if the title matches what I want, the music will sound exactly what I want. That's just the magic of music. The titles are so important, and I use that to structure my songs, to write, and just I use that approach. I think the titles are so important.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we talked a little bit about like negative emotions and kind of to jump off of that, what do you struggle with most as a creative professional?
The business side, for sure. That's the
Yeah.
hardest, man. That's the hardest part because it's like if I had the resources, I could be just as good as any of your favorite artists if I had the resources. But the business, there's no way to grow without the business aspect. I struggle with making connections and business because the thing with me is just I'm a creative. I like to lock in and just create things. And I have dreams of being respected and viewed as a creative, and I have dreams of having a large audience. But unfortunately, it's just impossible to even be seen if you're not putting yourself out there and advertising and like just making connections. Like, I don't know, I'm just not a social person. So it's hard for me to even like hit people up. Like, don't get me wrong, there are so many artists that I admire and I look up to. Like Harrison Boyce, for example, that's my favorite underground artist. Shamar Pierre is another one that I really love. So many underground artists who are similar in following to me. And I would work so well with them, but they don't read their DMs. That's just, that shit ruins my spirit because it's like, I feel so good about sending you a long DM like, hey, your music spoke to me today. Like, we should really work. Like, we have the similar vision. And I just don't get a response or even the message is read. Like, it's just, it crushes my spirit and it makes me not even want to put myself out there anymore because it's like, if you're just going to ignore me, like, what's the point? And it's like people say like, oh, you shouldn't be worried about, doing the numbers. But when I don't do the numbers, you don't listen. Like, it makes no sense, bro. Like, the business side just hurts me because I'm not a capitalist. I don't study that. I didn't study business in school. I didn't do any economics. I don't know that shit. I'm just an artist. Like, and if people want to help me do business, sure. But if you're gonna tell me to make a bunch of stupid ass TikTok videos, then I don't want you part of my team. You know, there's other ways to do it, and I'm just waiting for that chance for some actual artistic minded capitalist to come through and say, hey, we're gonna do it this way.
So I think for sure what you're saying is something that I hear across the board. I think that like the best creatives aren't always the best business people. And that's something that I really look to help with like in my own business because I think it is something that so many talented people are missing. You need that ecosystem. You need people that speak creative and business. So I think that's really, really typical. Do you have like a good community around you right now that helps with any of this stuff? Or are you doing literally everything, all you?
Literally everything. Like I have a really good connection with my brother Ruben, but lately he's a businessman himself. He owns a multi-million-dollar business, Dr. Towels. It's very popular in India. And we worked in the beginning of 2024. We had a plan on how to elevate me. And it's just, I feel like the whole process of blowing up just burns me out because it's like, it's always the same steps. It's always like short form content. It's always dumb down your music, like make shorter songs. Like I'm just not willing to compromise. Like it's just not my interest. I want to be the uncompromised one that blows up. Like I don't want to cut any corners. I'm just not. That's just how I am. Like I've just never been interested in business, and I don't know. I feel like in general, like I feel like art is too industrialized. It's like the music that connects should be reached, or the music that is meant to reach people should be reaching the people without all these hurdles. And it's like the algorithms that we have now just don't do that for us. Like it's all based on gimmicks and just having an image and just being too compromise. Because compromisational a word?
It can be. I
We'll make
understand
it
what
a
you're
word.
saying. Like,
It sounds like a word.
we're making it one. Yeah. Well, I think so. I mean, specifically, I've definitely seen Tyler, the creator, speak on this about just being himself, and it's like take it or leave it. And obviously, especially when he first came out, we didn't have music like he made, and it was very not accepted. But him just sticking to who he was obviously resonated. And so I think that ultimately being your authentic self is the way to go. I don't think you should compromise. And I think that it does water down the artistic side. Like you said, you're trying to be an artist, not an entertainer.
Yeah, I think it just lately it's just been so difficult because I'm at the age where it's like there's so much pressure from every direction. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, do you see the future in this? And in my mind, I tell myself that I do because you should never doubt yourself, which I struggle with that, but I try never to doubt my future. And it's just so difficult when everybody's in your ear telling you to find a sustainable job. I don't want a job. I don't want to work in a corporation. I want to work for myself. And it's just, it's difficult in this society and this ecosystem to even come close to your dreams. Like people talk about like the American dream. I don't know like what are the steps. Like does anyone have like a tutorial? Like can we simplify it please? Is what I'm saying. Like that's the problem now. It's like as an artist, just everything is so complex. It's like you don't know who's being real, what's fake, you don't know what's gonna last. And it's just the most difficult thing to figure out how to get to where you need to be. And I feel like that's what inspires the spontaneous energy that we have as artists is because we're just so free form in the approaches we take. And the artists who are just too focused on the path, I feel like they get lost. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just I'm learning as I go. And I feel like every artist should just be doing that instead of following the same tutorials. And yeah, I just wish it was simplified. I it's everything. It's the contracts, it's the ideas, it's the labels. None of it is simplified for us. And they know that our brains don't operate in that way. That's the reason why it's the way it is because it's they make the contracts too hard to read because they know that we're not going to look at them. It's just how it is. And social media made it worse because you don't know where your music's going. You can post a TikTok, there's like a 0.1% chance people actually see it. There's just so much like just nothing is guaranteed in this industry.
I think that's like a synopsis for life though too. And to be honest, like it sucks when you're going through it, but when you have those little victories, I mean small or big victories, I think that it makes it so much better to know how hard you worked for that. I think that
Yeah.
it has to be, you have to have the lows to understand like the highs.
Yeah. But I'm very excited to see where it takes me. I'm just very I'm putting the art first. I feel like for the past 5 years we've not seen the art speak for itself. It's been we're seeing the artists speak for themselves. We're seeing the gimmicks. We're seeing notice how every artist who's blown up in the underground scene, especially, there's always a gimmick attached. Whether it's Ian just being a suburban white guy making making Atlanta music, like what Tyler was saying, whether it's Dave Blunt simply just being large, like dude, like what is going on? Like why is it so hard to just have artists with art that speaks for itself? And it's just the attention spans, it's the unwillingness to accept non-conventional ideas, and it's like, can we really complain because they're non-conventional for a reason? That's the thing we have to battle, and it's hard. And I want to create things that speak for themselves, and the only way I can do it is with the support team. And the people who I want to work with are not listening to me. They're ignoring me. Like I put stories up all the time, like, hey, this is the list of people I want to work with. They see the stories and don't interact at all. Like, dude, just like give me a listen. Like, check out what I have, check out what I've made. Like, dude, I literally went to Albania for this. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. You got some sick visuals in Albania too. If
I
we'll definitely
tried.
shout out your Instagram at the end of this, but you guys should definitely go look at his feed for the last couple months because there's some really cool content.
Thank you. Yeah, it was difficult though because I had a whole film in my head. Like this album I'm working on, The Red Shepherd, I want the visual album through and through, just fully visual. And I wasn't able to accomplish that because I just don't have the team because it's all about money. And if I really wanted a great team, I would have to have thousands and thousands of dollars. I just want the resources. Like I don't have the fucking resources to do anything I want to do. So it's like it's hard because as a creative, every day that goes by without me creating kills me even more. Like I'm
Yeah.
not being given the opportunity to create because I have to go to my job. and I have to go to sleep at this time. I have to schedule my whole life around a job that I don't like, and it just crushes me to the point where it's like I get to this boiling point where I'm lashing out on Instagram, like, why have you not checked me out yet? Like, it's just, it's tough. I'm in a tough position right now because I'm just making music, and I hope people resonate with it because it's not like anything people have heard in the past 10 years.
I think what you're saying is so relatable though, and thank you for being so like raw and honest about that because I think a lot of I mean, literally almost all the creatives that I know are not able to only be creative. There's some other job or side hustle or whatever that is supporting them being creative. And it does really box you into what you're able to do. So even like you're saying from the time standpoint, but also from the resources standpoint on what you're able to create, it's such a frustrating cycle. So
It
thank you
is.
for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. It's just, it's so difficult because um, it's not only like the resources, like you said, it's the time, it's the privacy. I don't have the privacy I used to have. You know, I used to be able to, my mom works late nights. So I used to be able to come home and work on my music all night until 4 a.m. when she comes home. Now I don't have the privilege because we have other people living here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have the chance to even record. And like when I do record, I like to warm up first. I like to warm up for like 30 minutes just to get my voice right. And
Yeah.
that's taking up too much time now because once I'm warmed up, who knows when someone's gonna pull into the driveway? Like, the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, I can't just sit here and like be loud and wake everyone up. Like, I haven't made a full song in a long time. That's the reason. I can't get studio time. I can't have my own space. I can't just like make my wall soundproof somehow. And I don't want to disturb people that I live with. So all I can do is just sit here and just have these crazy songs written out and not record them.
Yeah.
I just want
That's
my own
rough.
space. Yep. I can guarantee y'all if I had my own space 24 hours a day with no distractions, no interruptions, I would have an album way better than To Pimp a Butterfly.
Dang. That's a bold
That's
claim.
that's for sure. That is 100%. If I had the resources and the time and the privacy, that's exactly what would happen.
Well, I think that, you know, you're definitely doing what you can with what you have. And I think that's also very important is the idea of just continuing on and not just completely giving up. You're still writing. You're still, like you said, you went on that trip, like you're creating visuals. You're working towards something with whatever you can do right now. And I think that
Of
that's like the
course.
takeaway.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm very active right now. I'm treating my album like a novel in the way that it's if you read the full album, the lyrics, everything will connect somehow. Everything flows together. There's reoccurring characters, there's reoccurring themes. It all connects. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish because there's so very little albums that have that aspect but are also powerful in many different ways. In this album, I tackle so many different topics that people have not heard mentioned before. It's identity crisis, egoism, a lot of societal things. It's just this is not underground music. This is the music that you would hear if I'm on a pedestal and have these big speakers behind me, a big protest of people. That's what kind of music this is.
For sure. That just kind of led me. So, something that I've been talking a lot with people about lately is what legacy means to them. What does legacy mean to you?
It's very important because it's it's hard because you don't want to come off as egotistic, but at the same time, you want to be acknowledged for the work you put in. And I think as of right now, I haven't built a legacy yet. I think I have a lot of personal work to do before I'm even feel worthy enough to be remembered for the next 10 years. Like, I have to do more, but I want to get to the point in 20, 30 years where I've put out such an amazing catalog that people can look back on and say that, wow, that's an amazing catalog. Like that's, he hasn't missed. And he's always been true to himself. He's always pushed the norm. He's always shaped the culture. And legacy is so important. I want to have the craziest dad lore ever. Um,
I
that's
love that.
important. I want to
Yes.
have, I want to be remembered. I want to be acknowledged as like not a savior, not a savior, because I hate that. I just want to be acknowledged as like a revolutionary figure, like statues and shit. Like, yeah, that's what we're going for here.
Dang, those are big aspirations. All right,
Yeah.
well, let's piggyback off that. I think we could definitely talk all day long. I'm so glad that we finally got to sit down and have a conversation, but we are at the point where I get to ask you the question I ask every single person that comes on here. What is the wildest story that you can tell me on this podcast?
Whoa. Um, See, that's difficult because my brain goes to inappropriate spots. So we're gonna get something.
It's got to be decently appropriate. You can't get
Yes,
anybody
exactly.
arrested. Okay. We
Okay, see.
can't, it can't be incriminating in any way.
Well, incriminating to myself, sure. We'll go there. It's fine.
You can
I'm not
incriminate
worried about that.
yourself.
Well, if anyone doesn't know, when I was about 10 years old, I really wanted a pair of LeBrons, like his shoes, because the shoes that I kept getting for Christmas, I didn't like them because my aunts were buying them, and I was like, I don't like these. So I took it upon myself. I staged a robbery at 10 years old.
Stop.
I with my friend. I'm not going to incriminate him, even though I haven't talked to him in years.
Oh
But I
boy.
was with my friend. I was 10 years old. I planned out. I would go to Target. I would stuff a pair of scissors in my pocket, and I would go to the Dick's Sporting Goods store because I knew they had LeBrons. And I would walk in with the shittiest shoes I had, and I would swap my shoes with the LeBrons and put them back in the box. So I cut the tag off with the scissors that I got, and I put my shitty shoes in the LeBron's box, and I just walked out.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked. I literally like we just biked
Stop.
home. We were at his apartment, and we were like, we got away with it. Like there was no problem. Like what the hell?
Oh my
And then
God.
eventually we just made the dumb decision to go back because it was so easy. We're like, we'll do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, we go back and they're like, wait a second, we know what you did 3 hours ago. So yeah,
Oh,
they
you,
they brought us to the back and they had to like call our parents and stuff. It was, yeah,
you guys went back that fast?
yeah, it was dumb. I mean, like
Stop.
we were 10 years old,
Oh my
but the
God.
point is, I got away with it, and
Yes.
at first, and after that, I just have not stole at all. Except when I worked at Target. When I worked at Target, I stole candy bars and Red Bulls.
That's fair.
Yeah, I would I would stock them out of the system and then eat them.
Tips and tricks. In case we have any listeners that currently work at Target. So,
I'm sure we do. I
oh
know a
boy.
few.
Oh my God. All right. Well, Dremmz, thank you so much for sitting down and talking and really just being like so honest about where you're at and what it's like being an artist right now.
Of course, I'm very honored to speak about it. Thank you.
Yeah. I definitely want to give you a chance. Where can people find you?
You can find me on all platforms. You can find me on Spotify, Apple. I mean, Apple Music is okay, but I can't log into it, so it's a stupid profile picture. But Spotify, YouTube too. Please go on YouTube. That's where my music videos are. They're great. And Instagram. I'm always active on Instagram. No other platform. TikTok, I literally just post and dip. Like, so yeah, just follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube, and follow me on Spotify. Listen to my albums, please. I got like 5 of them for you.
And check your DMs to see if you have any DMs from Drums.
Yes, please. Harrison Ford, Shamar Pierre, Underground Pages. Where you at? Divert.
Write
Shout
him
out.
back.
Yes. No reason not to. Love you guys.
Oh. All right. Well, thank you so much, Drums.
Thank you, Chloe. I appreciate the chance to speak.
All right. We'll see everybody next week.